What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to take this space behind the throne, when you're sitting right here, that is typically wasted, make a beautiful ash cabinet with some glass doors on the top to store all your goodies right behind the toilet there. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, this toilet shelf is made out of ash, which is beginning to be a little bit harder to come by, but I got some beautiful boards. These are about 12 foot long, and they're all less than 8 inches, so they fit on all of my tools. First stop was over at the miter saw station, where I'm breaking them down to their approximate lengths so they're easier to manage on the milling machines. And for those of you that are worried about my health with that super dull miter saw blade, rest assured, I ordered a new one. It's already on the tool, and by golly, this blade was dull, but it did seem to work, and it cut a ton of material for the many years that I used it. As you can see here, I kind of bunch things together, so I know, working from left to right, what my pieces are, so I don't lose track, because you'll see later in the video I'm actually building like 3 cabinets, although the video is really focused on one. Now, as you can clearly see, the next stop is over at the jointer, where we are going to surface 2 sides. We're going to surface one wide flat plane, and then we'll tip that flat plane up against the jointer edge, jointer fence, and square up that other side. And it was right at this time when I realized I had actually milled over a nail that was in one of these boards. Thankfully, I didn't put this through the table saw. Got to keep an eye on things. But it was a good reason to flip all of the blades on my helical heads on the jointer and planer, which, just like the miter saw, have gone through a ton of material, a lot of hickory lately, so it was high time to make those changes. We're over at the planer, where we are going to plane up that opposite wide side and make sure everything is nice and square. Lots of material to run through here. It's been a while since I mentioned this, but one of my favorite things in woodworking is putting a dirty board into the planer and seeing the beautiful wood, which you don't really know what it's going to look like, come out on the other side of the planer. We got a beautiful stack of ash right here, and it's always so exciting to put it through the planer. But now we have 3 sides squared up, and it's time to go over to the table saw to cut things down to their final dimension. And in doing that, that 4th side is now going to be squared up. Now, we're using a relatively new to us tool in the shop, the Harvey Alpha table saw. It's got a 4 horsepower motor, and it just gobbles up this ash, and it is a true joy to use. I typically like to break everything down at each tool so I don't have to move back and forth, or at least try not to move as much as I can. As you can see here, we're breaking down the boxes of the cabinet that we're building first, which are the wider parts, and then we will move to all of the rails and stiles and the actual face frames of the box themselves. Once we got all of our pieces at their final widths, it's time to move back over to the miter saw, where I will use the stop block to get repeatable cuts and break things down to all of their final lengths on the miter saw. I like to square up one side, flip that over to make sure those cattails are not stuck in the corner and messing up our dimensions, and then cut the other side, and now we have the final length of the piece that we are after. got the miter saw, we will use it, since we have enough capacity, to break down the box parts to their final lengths. And then we are going to move over to the Craig pocket hole jig. Now Tyler, why are you using pocket holes in this beautiful ash? Well, they're quick, they're easy, and they work spectacular. Other alternatives could be like a half rabbit or a dado, but it takes quite a bit of time to do those, and I don't really know how much added strength they have. Regardless, there's going to be a face frame on this as well, which is also going to be pocket holed to cover up any edges that you might be concerned that you're seeing. Put your pocket holes on the top of the cabinet so you can't see it, and then on shelves that will be covered with material as well. And you can always fill those pocket holes in if you chose to do so. One word of warning for these face frames, because they are only 1.5 inches, you're only going to really be able to get one pocket hole in, so I do offset them to try to allow those pocket screws to hold everything from twisting. Once you have your glue set up there, it's not going to happen, but it's a nice little trick to do. First order of business is to assemble the box. As you can see, I have the pocket holes on the upper side of the cabinet that you're not going to see, and then I have them on the bottom, which will be lower than the visual eyesight can really notice. The face frame was a quick assembly with pocket holes and glue as well. Now this is something that I haven't done before. I'm actually going to be using biscuits to fasten this face frame into place. Adding the biscuit joints on the face frame and then also onto the box of the cabinet themselves, add some glue, and then clamp the face frame in place. And it actually worked very well, and then there are no visible pocket holes, which is also nice. I want to take a quick pause and thank the sponsor of today's video, who is our friends up yonder in Canada at Fuji Spray Systems. Fujispray.com. Link to everything down in the description below, available on Amazon as well. I have been using the Q5 Platinum, which is their top of the line sprayer, for years. I'm getting close to probably 100 gallons of finish put through this thing, but dozens and dozens of gallons of various different finishes put through the two different spray guns that I have right here, the T75G and the T70 guns, and I have the pressure pot system as well, which is really great when you're spraying large volume. They've got systems that range from the hobbyist to the semi-pro to the professional level, like the Q5 Platinum right here. This is a quiet spray system, quiet turbine system, and it is wonderful. Now, you can put it in a kit like I have it right here. Got a video on that. If you guys wanted the whole setup with all of your spray cups, mixing cups, and whatnot, all in one place, it's pretty fantastic. Again, thanks to Fuji for sponsoring this video and being such great friends of the channel for such a long time. Fujispray.com, links in the description below, available on Amazon as well. You guys remember all those pieces that we cut to 1.5 inch on the table saw and then moved over to the miter saw, cut to dimension? Those were the rails and stiles for the doors. That's my favorite way of making doors. You can batch out a ton of doors very quickly with this method, but it's not the only one. I have showed several different methodologies of building shaker style doors, and there will be a link up in the top corner of this video if you care to check that out. but we're going to be running through with a rail and style bit on the router. Now this sled I'm using right here is actually for the rails only. You have a bit that you run the rail ends through, and then every piece runs through the style portion. And that style is going to add your profile, and it's going to add the dado for the panel, whether you're doing a glass panel, which we are doing some plexiglass panels, and we're doing some wood panels as well. And this is that style bit right here. So again, every piece, even the rails, which if you think of the construction of the door, the rails are the horizontal pieces and the stiles are the vertical pieces. And the way I remember that, which was actually a comment from a viewer, is the rail is like a handrail. That's what you would run your hand on, which is a horizontal mechanism. And that's the same thing right here. So we're running all of those pieces through the router. It is a 1/2 inch router bit, so it's a powerful router, and I got good dust collection here, so it makes pretty good work of getting this done. The assembly is going to be done on the flat workstation, and I'm actually using, yes, don't laugh, these are actually called Spaceballs. You can buy them on Amazon, look it up, really actually Spaceballs. You put them into the groove, and this is going to prevent that panel from shaking around over time as it expands and contracts with different weather patterns. So we put the Spaceballs into the dado, into what was done with the style bit. Make sure we add glue on the rails, and you can see how we're putting them into place, fitting the panel, adding the style on the other side, and then clamping everything tight, which makes it square right up with these wonderful Bessie parallel clamps. Once we got all the doors glued up, it is on to some sanding, which I'm using my Surf Prep, which has a 3mm orbit, so it's a very fine finish. It isn't for removing material, it's for finishing fine furniture like this, and I love to use it for sanding between coats, very, very quick. We're sanding up these doors right quick before moving into the finish. As you may have noticed, there's several different cabinets behind me being built, but we're specifically targeting this one for this video. And it's time to finish this stuff, and I'm going to be using my favorite finishes from General Finishes, sprayed by my Fuji Spray system. The Q5 Platinum is outside, which is where we're going to move this stuff to spray it. But I'm going to start with the General Finishes sanding sealer, and it's going to be in a, can't see it, 1.3mm Fuji tip, and this is the T70 gun. I like to use this one for the heavier stuff, like heavier viscosity, 1.3 tip and 3 MPPS. Gotta have it if you're going to do any type of spraying. And then we'll do some sanding, and we'll follow it up with 2 full strength coats of Enduro clear polyurethane in semi-gloss, and this will be with the T75G spray gun, 3 MPPS, and this will be with a 1.0mm tip. This is a great combination, goes on very, very glassy. I usually follow it up with a 3rd coat at a slightly reduced viscosity, and that lays down fantastic for that glass finish. So we got to tape off the glass here, and then we're ready to go. And these mixing mate lids, for the longest time I didn't put them on, but once I narrowed down the finishes that I really liked, these things are awesome. In conjunction with the PPS cups, this is a system that is nailed down and very quick to apply finishes. As you know, I like to spray finish only, or don't do it. Okay, here in the shop we got the heat going. It's 55 degrees, and I have everything set up to bring the material back in here after I've sprayed the finish on there. Out here it is about 43 degrees. We got the Fuji cart out here with the Q5 on the bottom there. I have a whole video about that if you're interested, and it has links to everything that I'm going to be using. We're going to spray on the rotating cart, set them on the folding drying rack over there. I'll put that right by the door here, them being the doors, the door fronts, and then we'll roll that in here, let them warm up and set up, and then we'll do the cabinets, and then we will repeat again doing the other side of the doors. And we got to do that like 6 times or something like that to get multiple coats on every side. We'll show you one time, and then you guys can sit back and it'll be finished for you. What are you doing in here? Pebble? Oh yeah. This is not your cabinet. Alright, I got the cabinet up here in the bathroom, and this is where it is going to go. And we're using the French cleat system. This is a 30-degree cleat, and I've measured where I need this to go within the cabinet to get the top and the bottom kind of where we want.